Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you all so much for spending your Saturday morning with us here at Project Wildlife, virtually, obviously. My name is Carly Padilla, and I am the Project Wildlife Education Specialist. And you are a part of one of our Wake Up with Wildlife events. And we hold our Wake Up with Wildlife talks the first Saturday of every month from 9:30 to 10:30. And we're always talking about something different about wildlife or conservation going on. Maybe it's just San Diego specific. Sometimes we're able to get speakers from different parts of the country and talking about different programs that are happening around. So if you enjoy today, I will be sending out a follow-up email, but check back on our calendar at our website, sdhumane.org, and check out the first Saturday of every month. Next month is going to be extremely fun as well. We have the San Diego River Park Foundation going to be talking about all the wonderful land that they have been able to acquire here in San Diego and make sure that we are able to connect different parts of the environment for wildlife to be able to have that environment to be able to touch each other and show some of their wildlife cameras that they have out there and just the amazing different wild animals that are passing through. So hopefully you'll tune back next month on that first Saturday as well. But without further ado, we're going to get started today. And I am joined today with my friend Kate Jarvis. She is our wildlife experience specialist, and she's going to be like my news person, and she's going to be at the care center, going to us live, showing us what's going on in there. And so really what today is all about is we're capping off our baby shower. Normally we have you guys on site. We have our education ambassadors. You can get a tour of our wildlife center. But due to COVID and all that we know about, unfortunately, we can't do that. But our donation list, our wish list has been put out there. And oh my goodness, have you guys, the public, really come through for us this year. It touches our heart on how many donations we have already received. So we're super excited to share some of them being put in use right now. We don't have too many baby animals, but just like a normal baby shower, the baby's not there yet. The presents are for them to get ready for the baby. So we are expecting quite a lot of wildlife babies to come to our door this season. And your donations just help us get through that and help these animals on their road to rehabilitation. So we are a nonprofit. We are a part of San Diego Humane Society, but we fully rely on all your donations. So thank you all so much who have donated. And then we will share the link with you if anyone wants to continue those donations. So today, Kate's going to start us off by showing you, if you do find an injured wild animal, where you take it. So Kate, take it away.
Thank you so much, Carly. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here for Wake Up with Wildlife. Like Carly mentioned, today is a really special episode because it is our baby shower. So I'm going to be taking you through our care center. As you can see, I'm standing out front of Project Wildlife right now, and I'm going to be taking you through some of the rooms to show you how all of your very generous donations are helping save thousands and thousands of wild animals in San Diego who come to us sick, injured, or orphaned. So I'm going to show you very quickly where I'm standing. So you can see the shelter is right across the street, but if you have a wild animal, you're of course going to come to Project Wildlife. So obviously with COVID, things look a little bit different. If you haven't had a chance to come by and visit us, or if you haven't brought us a wild animal since we've changed our setup a little bit, it looks a little bit different. But once you pull up, you'll see this big white tent that says Wildlife Intakes. And you'll just have to walk up to this main table, and one of our incredible intake staff will come out here to help you and to answer any questions you have about that wild animal and to take it in so our medical staff can take a look at it. So without further ado, we are going to step right inside of our intake area. We already have some donations with us where we have spray bottles that we use for disinfectants to make sure that we're keeping everything clean, keeping everybody safe and healthy. We have clipboards, we have hand sanitizer, all of these random things that maybe you wouldn't think of that we use on a constant day. Actually step into our intake area, there are so many different things that we are using to provide a safe place for these wild animals to come to before our medical team takes a look at them. So once you bring your wild animal in, it is our incredible intake staff job to make sure that that animal gets transferred into something maybe a little bit more appropriate and something that is easy to contain that animal in. So for example, we have these critter carriers or these little plastic aquariums that we use very, very commonly for a lot of the animals that come into us. So If we get, for example, a little squirrel in or a baby bunny, maybe, we'll make sure that we're transferring them into something like one of these critter carriers that you'll see on our wish list, so that the animal has a safe, calm place to rest in before our medical team takes a look at them. We also have these little hummingbird baskets. Now, you might see that they're actually used, I believe, for pond baskets. Carly, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we just learned that. That's their intended use. But we at Project Wildlife actually use these for some of our smaller birds, specifically our hummingbirds. So as you can see, we put them in these little baskets. We have little nets on top to make sure that they are able to stay safe inside. We put little towels in as well. I cannot tell you all how many towels we use at Project Wildlife. As you can see, every single one of these carriers has a little towel in it. So we, of course, want to provide a very soft and comfortable environment for the animals while they're with us. So we use tons and tons of towels. So if you have any extra towels, even at your house, that you'd like to donate, we take everything from large bath towels all the way down to these tiny blue surgical towels. So please, please, if you have any extras, we would always love to take them. As you can see up here, we also have lots of different gloves. So for example, if an owl comes in, we're of course not just gonna grab the owl like we would maybe a smaller bird. We're gonna need these larger gloves to make sure that we're staying safe and we're able to handle those animals safely. So we're gonna definitely put on a pair of gloves. For the gophers or the squirrels with those really nasty bites, we might also use a pair of gloves. So all of these different items on this table are what our intake staff will use to make sure that we are getting those animals in. We're putting them in an enclosure or a container that is safe for them. And then they're going to bring them over to our medical area for our medical staff to take a look at them. So this is our main triage area. As you can see, again, once our intake staff has brought those animals in, put them in a more appropriate container. If those animals maybe need a little bit of additional heat support, for example, if they're a baby, we might put them in one of these little brooders. It just, again, provides some temperature regulation to make sure that they are staying warm. As you can see, since like Carly mentioned, we don't have too many babies in right now, which is a good thing, but we know they're coming. But for our purposes today, we just have these little stuffed animals so you can see what it would look like when we do have those babies in. But we might put them in a brooder, which we are constantly using. And you will see while we're walking through the center, we have brooders in almost every single room because so many of our animals do need that additional heat support. If they don't need something as intense of a brooder, like these little baby birds, we might just put them on a heating pad. So we also use heating pads all throughout our care center. You will see in this little triage section where we first put the animals before our medical team is able to take a look at them. Every single one of them is made sure to be put half on a heat pad so that if they need that extra warmth, they're able to get to it. You can also see, and no, this is not a real bunny. We have faked out pretty much everyone on our medical staff this morning. They've all come up here thinking this was real. But you can see we use these little plastic terrariums. We put the animals inside of one with a towel, close the lid, and usually all of these will be covered so that we're making sure the wild animals have some darkness and they're not looking at us and getting more stressed out. So we'll put them in one of our little terrariums. We'll put them on, we'll cover them with a towel, and we'll wait for our medical staff to take a look. So again, here is just a couple of examples of how those incredible and generous donations we use every single day to help make sure we're providing as safe and comfortable an experience for the patients that we take in every single day. Carly, am I forgetting anything to mention?
No, I believe that is it. It looks amazing. And so look at our little babies in there. Friends, I just wanted to mention, if you did have any questions at all throughout this event, please throw it into the chat and I can ask Kate in live time. But sorry, Kate, on the back end, we were just having some issues going live to Facebook. So I was just trying to figure that out. But if you want to head into the medical area and show some of that, we are ready to go.
Will do. I'll be back in 1 second.
So friends, definitely, let me get my video back on. Sorry about that. So again, like Kate mentioned, if you ever do come across that wild animal, please go ahead and bring them into us as soon as you can. If you know if it truly needs your help. We just did a whole fun Humane at Home segment yesterday, which is on our San Diego Humane Society Facebook page, about when to intervene when it comes to certain species of animals. Sometimes they need your help, sometimes they don't. And so we just really want to make sure that we are jumping in to help that animal when they definitely need it. So making sure that we are keeping them warm, dark, and quiet, except for hummingbirds. Hummingbirds are always an exception. If you can just keep them warm and quiet, they don't necessarily need to be dark. And again, like Kate was mentioning, bring them into us. We'll get them set up in those wonderful carriers that you just saw. Yeah, pond baskets, surprisingly, are a thing. So, and now Kate is in our medical area. We'll head right back over to her.
Yes. So once an animal has come into our intake area, our intake team has taken a quick look at them, seen if they need to be seen immediately by our medical staff, or if they can handle, some time to sort of decompress and get a little bit more comfortable. And they'll maybe wait a little bit at our triage center that I showed you guys if they aren't an immediate emergency. But if they are, they'll be brought straight back to our medical area. So I'm standing here in our treatment room. And as you can see, there's lots and lots of supplies that are in this room. We are constantly in need of things and supplies for this area. So for example, some things that we are using all the time are vet wrap or bandages. So if birds come in and they need a quick little wrap, we are going through rolls of this constantly. Or for example, if little baby birds come in and they all look very, very similar, we might use these little bird bands or little bird bracelets to tell them apart, make sure that we are giving the proper medication to every single patient and making sure we're able to tell them apart. You'll see that every single room that we're going to go into has scales. Now, they might be different sizes. So for example, this one is pretty big, but it is so important when we have a wild animal in care and we're making sure that they are healing and growing properly, we are tracking their weights. Weight is one of the biggest indicators of how an animal is doing while in our care and through the rehabilitation process. So we want to make sure we're taking their weights every single day to make sure that they are growing. For example, if they're a baby, they should be growing and gaining weight every single day. So we want to make sure we're tracking that. So we have scales in every single room. We also have lots of, again, like we were talking about, brooders. We always have brooders to make sure that if animals need that additional heat support, we're able to provide that for them. And again, all of the towels, you guys, so many towels to make sure that animals are comfortable and that they have a soft place to rest or sleep if they are needing that extra time. You will see every single one of our rooms has gloves because, of course, while we're examining an animal, we want to make sure that we have a protective barrier between us and them. So we're always using gloves, different gloves in between each patient. So we are going through constantly boxes of gloves. We have syringes, we have towels, we have pretty much everything in this room that you might see on our wish list. So thank you so much to everyone who has already donated. I cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. And I am now going to step out and go on to our mammal room.
Before you go, Kate, show the decals.
Oh yes, of course, the decals. So you will see, thank you, Dr. Krishner, for closing the door. These little decals, I don't know if you can see the little stickers, the little spots that we have on these windows, but these are something that everybody can put on their windows because we get countless animals, specifically birds, that have run into windows. Obviously for us, it's very obvious if a window is somewhere, but to a bird, they have no idea what that is. They see a clear object, they're gonna think they can fly right through it. And unfortunately, a lot of the times we get birds that have flown into a window and suffer all sorts of different injuries because of it. So a quick and easy thing you can do is buy these little window clings or window stickers and put these on your windows to let birds know that that is not just a clear area that they can fly through, but that there is something there. So we, of course, because we want to be safe and make sure that while patients are in our treatment area and while we are examining them, if they happen to get out or if they are flying around because we're wanting to see how they're able to fly, we want to make sure that they know that there are windows here. So that is a terrific donation that some of you have sent in. So thank you so much for that.
Perfect. All right, you can head on over to the next room. And what I'm gonna do is, let's see. Oh my gosh, there's my face. So as Kate is moving on to our next room, so obviously window strikes can be a major reason that animals are coming in, but also tree trimming. We really want to talk about the hazards of tree trimming during the spring and summertime. We want to make sure that we're not accidentally trimming birds or squirrels out of their tree. It's really important that we try to help them the best that we can. And if you do have to trim those trees during that time, really do a little bit of homework with your arborist or with your tree trimmer. Ask them what they would do when they come across an active nest. Ideally, they will stop trimming and, not go any further with that. When it comes to a lot of our songbirds, they don't always pick the best spots to make their nests. So if you do happen to start seeing a dove or a finch starting to nest in a spot that doesn't it's not sure appropriate, it might be right above your front door, take it down before they lay those eggs. It's going to be sometimes sad for us, but she'll come back the next day, try to make it again, take it down. She'll come back the next day, take it down. She will eventually go and try to find another nest, another location. Once those eggs are laid, though, you should not touch the nest. It's actually illegal through our Migratory Bird Treaty Act. So once those eggs are laid, it becomes an active nest. So get it down before they lay the eggs, or once those babies have flown and they're fledged, take the nest down again so they don't they don't lay more eggs right after that. So really important, but really time to be aware of that, because soon it is going to be the time where they are going to be looking for those appropriate places to lay those eggs. Back to you, Kate.
Thank you, Carly. So I am now standing in our mammal room. So as you can imagine, we get in thousands and thousands of mammals every single year. A lot of them are going to be your opossums, your cottontails, the little baby bunnies. We get lots of squirrels in, all sorts of different things. So of course, in order to take care of those animals, not only do we need all of those enclosures that we've shown you, the scales, the towels, but we also need plenty of food. So for example, some of the things you might see on our wish list are applesauce or baby food or dog and cat food, kibble. We use all of those different things to, of course, feed these animals and making sure, like I was saying, that they're growing properly and they're getting the nutrients that they need. So in this crate here, we have our first little baby opossum of the season. Now, eventually this entire room is going to be filled with crates and carriers and enclosures and cages and maybe even brooders filled with baby animals, baby bunnies, baby opossums. For now, we just have this little guy who I'm going to feed his breakfast really quick so you can see. He relies so heavily on the donations that you all send in. So I'm going to put his little breakfast in so you guys can see exactly where your donations are going. Now you can see he's going to go straight up to that food because he's thinking, finally, breakfast. But of course, we make sure that the diets we're feeding these animals are nutritious for them and what they need to make sure that if they have an injury, they're able to heal properly. Or if they're a baby like this little one, they are getting exactly what they need to grow big and strong. I promise you what I am doing right now is very special for all of you watching. Of course, normally we are never sitting here watching the animals or anywhere near them while they're eating. We want to make sure we are staying as far away from them as possible and only interacting and handling them when necessary. But I wanted to show you all that when you are sending that food in, or when you're sending those towels in, or the little food containers or water containers, when you're sending in those little hammocks,
yeah, those hammocks.
I can't tell you how much this little guy loves his hammock or his strawberry in the back. He loves all of his little housing. And so every time you send in those towels and the hammocks, they are being put to great use and helping little guys like this get that second chance that they need. So he says thank you, and we say thank you too.
We did have a question. We did have a question come through asking if he will be able to be released into the wild when he is old enough. And Miss Susan, absolutely. As long as he stays nice and healthy and we get him at that proper rate, that proper weight. He has no physical injuries other than his mama unfortunately didn't make it. She was found on a ship for some reason. Opossums not always the best at making the right decisions on where to go, but really poor eyesight. So he came in with mom. Unfortunately, mom passed away, and we are now taking care of this little guy until he gets to that proper weight and be ready to be released. So he is a very strong candidate for release in just a few weeks.
Yes, absolutely. So and again, with baby animals, sometimes they're still kind of figuring out what's going on. They're still learning, who is scary and who is not. So I promise you, him just being curious about us will change as he's growing up. He will definitely start to exhibit those much more natural defensive and fear responses. Of course, now he's just thinking, I'm hungry and I want food and I'm a little baby, but eventually he will absolutely be displaying a lot more normal opossum responses, which might be opening his mouth and showing us his teeth and telling us, you know what, I'm ready to be on my own and out there in the wild. So for now, though, he's with us and he's sitting in his little strawberry and eating his little breakfast. And we love him so much. And we would not be able to take care of him if it wasn't for all of the incredible things you all have sent. So thank you so much again. One other example of something we have on our wish list that we are using constantly are these little hideaways. So, of course, when wild animals are with us, we know that we are here to provide them with care and we mean them absolutely no harm. However, they do not know that, right? We are predators. And so we want to provide them with as many places to hide and to get away from us as possible, especially, of course, when we are not interacting with them. We want to make sure that they have spaces to hide. So we use these little hideaways constantly. They might be the plastic ones, they might be the little cloth ones, like you saw in his enclosure. He had the little strawberry. But we always want to make sure we're providing plenty of places for these animals to hide. So, Carly, I think if I have hit everything in this room, I
Yes.
will move on to our raptor room.
Perfect. Thank you, Kate. Wonderful. So that was a wonderful view of, yes, that a baby opossum, and it is a requirement for us to make sure that all of our wild animals have that healthy fear of humans before we release them back to the wild. Most of these animals, when they're young, they definitely still exhibit those natural fears. They do start to get used to having people feed them, but it is quite um, astonishing to see, like, there is a point in time where they just click and they want nothing to do with us. And so that is definitely something that we watch to look for and make sure that those wild animals are properly prepared for that life in the wild. And one thing about opossums that we want to always mention is how beneficial they are to the environment. Opossums are like our nature's little garbage men. They're eating rats, mice, slugs, snails, worms. Opossums can eat rattlesnakes and up to 5,000 ticks in one season for us. They mean us no harm. They obviously are terrified of us, and so they show us that mouth, those 50 sharp teeth. They have very poor eyesight, so when they hear something, it's automatic for that mouth to open up. But I promise you, if you leave an opossum alone, they will leave you alone. But we are going to head back to Kate and introduce you to a very special animal who is supposed to be used to being around humans. So check her out.
Hi, everyone. So now I am in our raptor room, and I don't know if you can hear behind me. We actually have one barn owl in care who is not super happy that I'm in here. So I'm going to try to be as quiet as possible. This, as you can see, is a Western screech owl. His name is Chuck, and he is actually one of our ambassadors. So before anybody thinks, oh my gosh, why is she getting so close to that owl? He is not a patient. He is actually one of our ambassadors. He's been with us since the end of 2018. He actually came in because of a car strike. So unfortunately, when he was brought to us, part of his eye and even some of his hearing was just not doing great. So we unfortunately had to remove that eye. As you can see, his left eye is not there, but the rest of him is doing fabulously. So we realized, unfortunately, we can't release him because he would not be able to survive on his own in the wild, but he has been doing incredible in our care. He helps us to educate people all over San Diego, and we love him so much. And this is sort of his little setup. So he's going to kind of demonstrate how we use all of the different supplies that you all send us for our birds. So obviously a really important thing to provide birds when they're in our care are perches. So obviously they need to be able to perch to exhibit that natural behavior. So Chuck here is a little bit spoiled, as you can see. He's going to kind of get as many perching options as he wants. and as he can fit into his little soft side enclosure. But we're going to provide, maybe different size perches as well. So different sizes that he can use to sit and to hop around on. We're going to give him some natural foliage with the plant. But a lot of these perches can be found on our wish list again. So if you wanted to help out some of our birds, again, we use them for smaller songbirds. So anything from our house sparrows and our finches all the way up to our raptors, like even Chuck, our little Western screech owl. Another thing that we have on our wish list are these big soft side enclosures. So as you could see, when I panned over to where the other patients will be kept, of course, again, since baby season hasn't officially begun yet, we don't have too many patients in, which is great. But normally our raptors will be housed in those larger metal enclosures, because again, it's all temporary. And these enclosures allow us and our medical team to grab the birds very quickly, examine them, make sure they're growing properly, and get them back out into the wild as soon as possible. Those metal enclosures, though, are not great for some of our smaller or more stressy raptors. For example, our Cooper's hawks or our sharp-shinned hawks or our kestrels. They do not do as well in the metal enclosures because they get so stressed out. They might start flying around in those enclosures and they might accidentally hurt themselves even more while they're in our care. So what we do is, instead of putting them in the metal enclosure, we put them in these soft-sided crates. So these ones are, of course, a lot softer on their wings. So if they are flying around here, if they are a little bit stressed, even if they are moving quite a bit, they're not going to get as hurt, and it's not going to be as traumatic for them as it would be if they were in one of the other enclosures. So we want to make sure that for every single animal, we're providing them with the best space possible while they're in our care. So Chuck here is demonstrating again what a soft side looks like. And he, along with all of our other more stressed raptors, want to thank you so much for sending these in. We've already received a few, and I really can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Thank you so, so much. Also, if anybody listening is interested in having a little DIY project for wildlife, you can actually make perches like this at home. So all it really takes is fastening these wooden pieces together, wrapping it in twine, and you're all done. And I cannot tell you how many of those we use during the season. This room will be filled with raptors, and we use these perches constantly because, again, we want to make sure that they're able to exhibit that natural behavior. They are much more comfortable when they're perched on something as opposed to just sitting on solid ground with their feet all splayed out. So we want to make sure that we're able to give them as natural and comfortable an environment as possible while they're with us. But again, you guys, every single room has all sorts of different dishes and paper towels and buckets and squeegees and brooms and gloves, everything you might see on that wish list. Even if it doesn't provide direct care to the animals, it allows us to do that. So thank you so, so much for everything you've been sending in. We are so overwhelmed with your generosity, and we just really cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. And I think Chuck is telling me, he's like, I want to go to sleep. Why are you bothering me? I am nocturnal. It is the middle of the night. Please leave me alone. So we're going to leave Chuck alone. Unless there were...
I was going to say, show out those raptor gloves that we use when we handle those raptors.
Of course. So like I was mentioning, I'm going to close this very quickly. So like I was mentioning up at intake, when we do get those raptors in, we obviously cannot just grab them like we would any other animal. So we have all sorts of different really, really thick, sturdy gloves that we use to be able to handle those raptors. So a lot of them are made actually out of Kevlar because, again, raptor talons are no joke, you guys, and we want to make sure that our staff and our volunteers are staying safe and we are able to handle the raptors in a way that's comfortable for them. So we go through, I can't even tell you how many pairs of gloves. So thank you so much to everyone who has sent those in, because it allows us to provide the life-saving care for these raptors every single year. So thank you so, so much.
That is perfect. Well, thank you, Chuck. And friends, he is one of our education ambassadors, and we do programs for schools, for scouts, for adult programs. And so I know he's a little backlit right now, so it's hard to kind of see him, but there you go. There's that sleepy head. He is a wonderful education ambassador, and surprisingly, through Zoom, you actually get a more up close and personal view of him than you probably would if we were doing an in-person presentation. So he's very comfortable with the camera now, and so it's definitely an option if you ever want to provide some more information for your kiddos or for your next door neighbors or anything like that when it comes to our local wildlife, when to intervene, how to help, and how to better coexist with our local wildlife. Please check out our website again. Go to our education page and fill out that request form for either a speaking engagement or a school program, and we will be happy to accommodate you. Well, thank you, Kate and Chuck. Kate's going to move on to her next area. I'm gonna get us back into a gallery view. Wonderful. And so, especially when it comes to raptors, we really want to encourage people to use humane methods to deter rodents, putting up raptor perches. And so you're encouraging those hawks and those owls to come around to your neighborhood. That's going to be really helpful, way more than using rodenticides. Rodenticide poisoning has a very detrimental effect, not only on the rodent, but up the food chain. So it's something that we are very passionate about talking about and looking for those more humane deterrents. So again, baby season, even rodents coming into the house, usually they're coming into the house more so for shelter versus food or water, but always make sure your food is secure, there's no open sources for them. And this is the time of year to look around the house and make sure that there are no openings. A mouse can get into a hole the size of a dime. So making sure you're closing up those holes, putting some wire mesh around will really help fill those holes so that you are deterring those animals from coming into the house in the first place. But we really discourage the use of rodenticides and those glue traps. We definitely get animals brought into us other than rodents that are caught on the glue traps. You know, we have seen those hawks, those raptors. Unfortunately, they have no idea. They just see it as a free Happy Meal right there for them, and they will tend to get stuck to those glue traps as well. So I know it's not always the easiest thing to do, and I know listening to me, things usually are going to take time, they might take energy, and they might take money, but it's something that you're really helping out the environment in the long run. And looking for those humane deterrents. Look at what those animals, what sense do they use the most? Is it the sense of smell, of sound, of sight? And try to accost that sense. So if they use their smell the most, then using vinegar stations or using capsaicin, which is really like a peppery smell. Different types of oils like peppermint oil that some animals don't like. So again, doing some of that homework, that research, we just put up a really fun video on how to deter rodents humanely and different ideas. But again, they're super smart. Some of these really smart animals have learned to outsmart us, and that's why they have been around for millions of years. And we just have to remember that, you know, although we may not like them, they are a huge, important value in that food chain. And we need to help out those top predators as well as their, and if you love those top predators, you have to think about their food source. And so something really important to think about. All right, Kate, where are you at now?
Yes, so I am very clearly in a much different space. I'm actually outside now in one of our outdoor holding enclosures. So these are areas that we will use for sometimes some of our bird species. So you can see we have perches up front. If we maybe get a raptor in who needs a little bit of time outside, maybe if we want to test their ability to fly, we might also put smaller birds out here if they also, again, need that larger space to be able to develop those flight muscles. And so we can make sure that they are ready to be released. We also might put squirrels out here, and we sort of will change the setup and the layout of these different outdoor holding enclosures based on what animal is in here. So right now, we actually have another opossum. He is actually hiding back in that little green hutch back there. So we're gonna leave him alone just for a second. But the main thing I wanted to point out about this enclosure is this trail cam. Now, you might be thinking, what on earth is Project Wildlife using for a trail cam in terms of animal care and making sure that our patients are doing well? So this patient, we're going to get a little bit closer because he's sleeping and he doesn't even notice that I'm here. This patient actually came to us with some radial nerve damage, which meant that one of his arms was not functioning properly. It was really bent out of shape and he was not doing well. He was not able to put much weight on it at all. And so it was a very, very, very serious injury. We aren't sure how it happened, but we know that he needed quite a bit of rehab work. So our vet and our entire medical team has taken months to perform all sorts of different therapies. So he's actually received acupuncture, he has received light therapy, physical therapy, he has received all sorts of different treatments to make sure that we can give him his best shot at fixing his little arm so that he's ready to go back out into the wild. So he actually came to us when he was pretty small. And as you can see, he's a pretty big little kid now. And we have now moved him outside so that we can test all of his different skills and all of his different abilities to make sure he's ready to be released back out into the wild. So what we'll give him is all sorts of different things to climb on. Now, opossums, as a lot of you might know, are nocturnal. So obviously for our daytime species, it's a lot easier for our medical team to come out here and examine and watch our patients to make sure that they are exhibiting those natural behaviors and that they are able to move properly and climb and do everything normally. However, for our opossums, as you can see, he is sound asleep right now. So there is no way for our team to be able to tell if that acupuncture and if that light therapy has been working. So what we do for our special species like opossums is we set up trail cams so that once we come back after a night away, we can watch the footage and we can see if he has in fact been climbing all over these different, I mean, there's like a little shelf in the background. There's this tree. There's all sorts of different incredible things that we are using to be able to test his ability to climb and to move around properly. And he has actually improved so dramatically. Carly, I don't know if you had that footage or those pictures, but we were able to, using the trail cam, see that he is in fact climbing all over the place and he is so active at night and he is using that arm. So those trail cams, oh, perfect. I don't know. It's kind of glitching for me. I'm sorry. I can't really see what's on the screen.
It's the picture of him climbing at nighttime.
Oh, perfect. So yes, as you guys can see, you can see him. Oh, I see him there. You can see him climbing all over the pallet and the tree and all of the different structures that we have provided for him. So again, this is something we would never have known he is capable of doing were it not for our trail cam. So we currently only have one or two, but we are always in need of those to make sure that we're able to test even our nocturnal patients like this little opossum. So again, we also provide all of the crates and the hideaways and all the different areas where he can fall fast asleep and make sure that he feels safe. As you can see, he is completely unbothered by me being in here, but that's because he is so sound asleep. He probably is just not even knowing that I'm in here. So we're going to leave him alone for now. If there aren't any other questions or things that I missed, Miss Carly.
No, that was great. No questions have come through yet. So, but yes, Kate, if you want to move on over to Miss Erin, we'll talk a little bit about her. But yeah, those trail cams are super helpful. And one thing that it's not mute me, especially important is that sometimes wildlife won't act the same when we're standing right in front of them. So it's super important for us to be able to monitor them and see what they're doing on their day to day. Is that bird able to get flight, not only just be able to glide forward, but that they're able to get lift is the same thing as well. So that trail cam, we just got that one from your guys' donations and we were able to put it into use immediately. And what we had been worried about and not seeing any movement, any climbing action from that guy, and our hearts exploded this week when we did see him actually climbing and utilizing that ability. And so now we just need to make sure that he has good balance, and then without further ado, he may be able to be released. So that trail cam, which has been donated by you guys, was extremely helpful for us. And so we are so excited. I think we just put a few more up there. Not only does it help us at Project Wildlife San Diego, but also in Ramona. Our Ramona campus is they're primarily our predator species, our apex predators. So the bears, coyotes, mountain lions, bobcats, who are very wary of humans. So they're definitely not going to be acting normal when we're standing around. So trail cams are used all over there so that we can really monitor those animals without having to be anywhere near them and watch that natural behavior. Again, it's something super important that we have to make sure that they are 100% ready to go back into the wild before we release them. So that trail cam is super awesome. That's for us to make sure that we know what's going on at nighttime. And hopefully we're going to use it on little Chuck here soon too. Chuck has an outdoor enclosure, so we want to make sure we put that trail cam out just to see what he's doing at nighttime, and he's actually moving around. So those cameras are super helpful for us. So thank you everyone who has either already donated one, or if you want to, they're up on that wish list as well. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about this girl since she's super and curious. Again, this is not a normal red-tailed hawk behavior that you are seeing. I'm actually going to try to spotlight Kate while I talk, though, so that you can see this beauty, because she's just gorgeous. So this is also a education ambassador. She's unfortunately not staying with Project Wildlife. She is going to another organization in Ramona called Critter Encounters. But Erin here, she came to us 2 years ago as a very young fledgling, and we have attempted for 2 years to wild her up. So giving her that opportunity to be mixed with other wild red-tailed hawks to see if she actually shows some of those wild behaviors. Unfortunately, she's a little too used to humans, so she never really wanted anything to do with those other red tails. She just wanted to kind of be a little bit more attached to the people. So she has now been in our care, and we have been able to hand feed her and starting to train with her to, jump to a different perch to get her weight. So she is going to be leaving us probably next week to go to her new forever home as an education ambassador. But we just wanted to share her with you all just again as a huge thank you, because all of those donations not only help those patients, but they also help these animals who may not be able to be released, but doesn't mean that their lives are gone without. They still have a very important purpose, which is providing that education for our public. It's so amazing when you can see one of these animals up close and personal. Obviously, red-tailed hawks and just how amazing and special they are. And she's a pretty big girl, but again, this is absolutely not normal behavior for you to see while Kate is standing right there in front of her. So she's definitely more used to people than she should be, but she's definitely going to be able to do a great job of teaching everybody about her wild cousins out there. So that is Miss Erin. We just wanted to show you a little display. Kate, if you want, can you go around her enclosure and just show some of those perches that we have set up for her? Just like pan over. Yeah, so she's currently in one of our flight cages. So this has been something super amazing about our new space here in San Diego. We've only been in our new wildlife center. We're going on 2 years in March. And so now we have the ability to have this beautiful flight cage set up. It actually opens up right there in the middle to a much larger flight cage. So if we had a red tail that we wanted to see how they flew, we can open up those doors and make it one larger flight cage, or we have the ability to close it up and have 2 smaller flight cages. So it is something that has been super amazing this past year for us to have that ability to see how these animals, these birds are flying and how they're acting in the without us being around. So she temporarily has it as her home, but again, she will be moving on from us next week. But this flight cage, I know since you guys aren't able to come onto our campus and see this wildlife center up close and personal, but it is one of the main things that we are so proud and happy to have now. Our Ramona campus does have a very large flight cage, 150 feet, one of the largest flight cages in Southern California. So sometimes they can get pretty filled. And so we want to make sure that here in San Diego, we also have that same capability in having those animals be able to practice that flight. And again, super important for them to have that full capability before we release them. Now, Kate, maybe you do want to make it over to the storage area just to show that amazing, the amazingness that is now how the donations are just coming and piling up. She's not going to the zoo, but we did actually have 2 red-tailed hawks. It's a question that just came through. We had 2 red-tailed hawks. One of them just went to the San Diego Zoo, and Miss Erin here is going to be headed over to Critter Encounters. So, we are able to work with other organizations, not just locally here in San Diego, but also just around the country if people are able to house these animals as well and utilize them for education purposes. We're very happy to share them. Right. And Miss Kate, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you wanted to head to the storage room, Kate, just to show one last time, but before we
Sure
can say
thing.
goodbye to Miss Erin, and then I'm going to share with you all. There's our little opossum climbing, but the donations. So they started coming, oh my gosh, before February, even last week. I mean, we're getting 3 to 5 Amazon deliveries every single day. We're getting to know our Amazon delivery drivers very well, but it is something that has just been amazing. Over 1,200 gifts received so far. It has just shown us so much how you guys appreciate the work that we do and what we do for these wild animals, and how much we just want to show how much we appreciate all of you. Some of our top supporters are here listed on our screen, these wonderful human beings. Of course, all of you are, but these are just some of the people who have just kind of gone above and beyond and just shown us a great amount of support for us. So we just wanted to do a special shout out for them. They all of you guys just are amazing human beings and helping us do what we do. And here in San Diego, we are just really lucky that Project Wildlife even exists. You can't go everywhere in the country. Not every city, not every state has wildlife rehabilitators around to be able to help provide this life-saving support for these wild animals, giving them that second chance at life. So here in San Diego, the fact that Project Wildlife, we take every animal now, including those predators, up at our Ramona campus. So not only does San Diego Humane Society do such an amazing job for our domestic side, Project Wildlife is here for the wildlife side. And without these 2 organizations, who knows what would be happening to our pets and to our wild animals. So here in San Diego, pets and wildlife have someone looking out for them, including you. So we just wanted to say a huge shout out to everyone who has supported us so far, and just share the message. Even if it's not donating to us, it's sharing the message about when to intervene, about looking out for local wild animals, coexisting with them, showing just how special these wild animals are for San Diego County. We are just an amazing biodiverse region here in California with so many different habitats and ecosystems for wildlife to choose to live in. And it makes San Diego super special. And, even living in Claremont or North Park or Escondido, Ramona, we have open spaces all around us. And any given time, you can go outside and see the amazing wild animals that are around you. My friends, look at this. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight it again, but this is a huge storage area, and we, like I mentioned, are bursting at the seams, but keep them coming because come July, all of this stuff will be gone. So,
It really will.
we go through it. Like I said, it may not look like we have a lot of patience now, but oh my gosh, I want to just say, like, March 1st, knocking at the door, they will be here. So this is
Absolutely. I know. Even if you were thinking of donating something and now you're looking and saying, oh, they have plenty. I promise you we don't. We have so many animals coming through this year that even this that looks like so much is still, we need as much as anybody can give us. And we want to thank everyone who has donated so much. Thank you so, so, so much. We would not be able to do everything that we do if it weren't for everybody who donates to us and helps us provide that care. So for example, the hay that we use to feed our little baby bunnies, I'm trying to get my shadow out of it. Our hay that we feed our bunnies, all of the towels that we use for exams and for making sure that our animals have a soft place to live, the calcium to make sure that our birds are getting all of the nutrition they need, all of the Tupperware to store their food and keep it fresh, the little perches that we use to make sure that the birds have a nice place to rest so that they're comfortable and to give maybe a squirrel or a gopher a little place to hide. We use these grass mats actually for sometimes those small mammals to give them that extra texture, something else to kind of move around in. But we also use those for even like our woodpeckers. Sometimes we'll put those on the sides of their enclosures to give them something more natural to grab onto. Of course, we use so much applesauce. So many animals will eat this applesauce. It is like dessert for them, and we love giving it as a little treat, like you saw that baby opossum eating earlier. All different types of baby food. We use, of course, I can't even tell you how many sponges and soap and cleaning materials, those terrariums to keep those animals safe and in a small enclosed little space, those scales that we use to make sure that everybody is growing and staying healthy and on that road to recovery. I mean, every single thing here, I can't even begin to go through everything that's here. It is so amazing. And we appreciate your support so much. I really, really can't tell you how much we appreciate it. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. And Kate, thank you so much for being here with us today and helping us and being our go-to person in our wildlife center. It was amazing to see all these things actually being put to use. And that was really what we wanted to do for you all today, is just give you a little bit of a behind the scenes of what we do every day at our wildlife center. We, again, just cannot thank you enough for all those donations that have come through to help us. And believe me, we're sharing this stuff with our Project Wildlife Ramona campus, maybe even the kitten nursery when they start getting the kittens. So if we're not able to use it, we are definitely sharing it with our shelter staff as well as our Project Wildlife Ramona campus. And these animals just need your help. So a few quick tips before we go and we say goodbye is, again, tree trimming, making sure that we're hopefully not trimming our trees during the springtime or summertime. If you have to, make sure maybe just watch for an hour before, the day before, and see if you see birds flying in, then you know that there's probably a nest there. Probably don't disturb it. Give them that time to raise their babies. For baby birds, it's usually 4 to 6 weeks from when they're laid in their nest to when they're fledging and ready to fly away. Keeping your pets on a leash, when you're going out right now on those hikes, making sure that you had that dog on a leash. If you can try to keep your cat indoors during this time, or make sure that you're putting at least a collar and a bell on them, and helping them with that, just so that they don't become predators, and then hopefully they don't become prey to anything else either, like coyotes. So keeping those cats indoors will be super helpful. Making sure that when we're out driving at nighttime, maybe we're not driving as fast, so we are letting those animals who do have habitats on either side of the street, they do have to cross to try to get to their food source or their water source, braking or maybe giving them that time to cross that street. Car strikes can be really detrimental for them as well. And just doing those things that we can help these animals out with. I do have a question that just came through. So when do hummingbirds make their nest? Right now. They are nesting right now. So this is the time you're going to hear them chirping very loudly, maybe looking for a mate, but they are one of our first ones to nest. So our hummingbirds, barn owls are definitely going to be those first ones. And we will share our baby season calendar with you guys, just so that you know when to expect different animals to start popping up around, and what to do when you do truly find a sick, injured, or orphaned wild animal. And again, if you do know that they are hurt and they do need you to intervene, you can either call us. We do have our humane law enforcement who can go out and deploy if you are in our jurisdiction, and they can pick up the wild animal and bring them into us. If you're able to safely get them contained, get them into a container, a box with holes in it, a container, a little critter carrier like you saw that we have. If not, a shoebox will work. Keep them warm and dark and quiet. Unless it's a hummingbird, don't keep it dark, just warm and quiet. Get them into our San Diego campus as soon as possible. But we cannot leave you without showing you another one of our education ambassadors. Miss Kate, do you want to talk about this cutie pie?
Yes, of course. I realized we had an extra minute, so I
Yeah.
wanted to showcase little Lizzo. She is a coast horned lizard, and she's actually our newest education ambassador. So once again, if she was a wild patient, I would not be getting this close. But because she is a little ambassador, and we're trying to make sure that she's used to being around people and that she's comfortable with all of our sounds and noises and smells and everything like that, we want to make sure that she's getting used to us. So it's okay that we're getting pretty up close and personal with her. But this is Lizzo, and she came to us just a few months ago, actually, from Yosemite. So she was unfortunately taken to us because somebody found her and thought she was cool and decided they kind of wanted to try to keep her as a pet. But as we all know, wild animals are not pets in any way. If you would like a pet, please go to the Humane Society. But unfortunately, she ended up with us because somebody decided they wanted her as a pet. And because Yosemite is a national park and they have all sorts of biosecurity issues with animals leaving and coming back, they did not want her to come back and maybe possibly introduce something to their native population. So we had to keep her. And so now she is going to be spending her life with us, educating the public on how incredible our reptiles are. Because, we focus so much on our mammals and our birds and how amazing they are as well. But our reptiles play such an important role in our ecosystem too. And as you can see, she's demonstrating that we even use those little perches for our lizards. So even our coast horn lizards that sometimes come in, we will use those perches, or we'll use any sand or any sort of other housing enrichment items we might even use for little guys like Lizzo. So I wanted to end on her because I think she is so cute. And if anybody is interested in seeing a lizard wag their tail, please let us know, because she actually does that when she hunts. And I'd be happy to send a video of it to Miss Carly that she can share with you all. But thank you all so much again for joining us. And thank you so much to everyone who has donated. We appreciate you more than you know. And thank you to everyone who is considering donating. We wouldn't be able to do anything without you all. So thank you so much.
Perfect. And then one last question. So if anyone has any final questions, throw them into the Q&A or the chat. But this is actually a really great one that I wanted to make sure we answered live. It's how often do you change the hummingbird food? So I'm assuming that's the hummingbird feeder. It's, you want to make sure at least weekly. And if when it starts getting warm, you might want to consider more often. Because it's sugar water usually, that can really get moldy really easily, especially if it's sitting directly in the sun. And so you don't want to accidentally cause a hummingbird to get sick because the feeder is not clean. So just double check it. Make sure if it's one of those that has like the little holes for the hummingbirds to stick their little beaks in front into, look inside of those, and you can usually see if there's algae or there's any growth going on inside of that. Same thing with songbird seed. If people are putting out bird seed feeders, make sure you're cleaning those pretty often, maybe weekly as well, especially when we start getting into that season. It's really important that we want to keep them as clean as possible. And then just remember with those songbird seed feeders as well, that if you don't clean up the seed that has fallen to the ground, you could attract rodents. Rodents can then attract skunks, raccoons, and opossums, and then you can start getting coyotes and bigger animals. So we really try to encourage people maybe planting native plants. That'll be super helpful for a lot of our bird species as well. And that's something that we just want to make sure that we're doing our part to help out those wild animals. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for Miss Christina, who made a donation today. Thank you all so much for joining Kate and I. We really enjoyed sharing all of these donations with you guys. We really enjoyed having you with us this morning. Check out our event next Saturday or next month, the first Saturday, with the San Diego River Park Foundation. But we also have Project Coyote lined up this year. We have San Diego Audubon going to be doing a presentation as well. And so we're really trying to get those Wake Up with Wildlife programs really nice and beefed up this year. But thank you all. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoyed this adorable coast horn lizard, Lizzo. Again, if you want a presentation for your class, for your school kids, or your adults, check out our website as well, sdhumane.org. Go to Project Wildlife. We have a tab which is just education and outreach. And that way you can also be able to we can share all of this information with the kiddos as well. So have a wonderful day, folks. Thank you again. Enjoy your weekend. Go Super Bowl. Enjoy your day, guys. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.